Alright, so I am playing The Bard's Tale. I believe it was 1985. Now, here's the fun thing about The Bard's Tale. It was supposed to be a wizardry killer, and you know what? Let me just kick this off, which is why I brought you here today. This is the definition of excess. I am fighting, I think, the mathematically max number of people in this game. Four groups of 99. Just to do it. I usually cast two mind blades and then a restoration spell in between them. And let's turn the text speed all the way up, and you can see just how truly long this takes. It takes a long time. But anyways, while we have this going in the background, and it will be in the background, you will see nothing interesting whatsoever. Yeah, so I guess Bard's Tale would have been what might have been called a wizardry killer. Um, and I can see why for a lot of reasons. For starters, it's a lot more on the surface accessible than wizardry. Um, you aren't going to permanently lose any of your characters like you can in wizardry. You can reliably bring your characters back to life, unlike in wizardry. And there's nothing that will kill you instantly, like in wizardry. Now, there's things that are similar to death, like being turned to stone, and it sucks that none of your characters have a spell that can cure that. So, I mean, I guess that's as good as dead, from a gameplay perspective. It's functionally you're dead. But I don't know, it just seems like an important distinction. And like I said, it just costs money to bring people back to life, and it happens every time. Whereas, in wizardry, there was a chance that they could just be permanently killed. A chance. When I was playing the DOS version, I think triggered abnormally often. I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, that when wizardry was ported to DOS, it wasn't ported properly, and the Apple, or the version of Pascal was slightly different on DOS versus Apple, specifically the random function, which I think returned um, a different range. Because there's things that are supposed to proc rarely that seem to proc almost 100% of the time in the DOS version of Wizardry. Or maybe that's just a weird side effect of running it in DOSBox. I don't know. Either way, it's just dredging up bad memories, so I'm going to drop it. That game frustrated me no end. Although I did find playing the Super Nintendo version much more palatable. Um, but anyway, so Bard's Tale was, I guess a wizardry killer, and it starts off very accessible. The first dungeon's pretty easy. The next few after that aren't too bad. Um, I think the worst status effect you run into early on is, being turned old and all your stats go to one. But I mean, it's frustrating. It's annoying, but it's not like you've got to immediately leave and heal everybody. So you push through it. And then the dungeons get increasingly devious and weird with teleporters and spinners and dark zones. And the first time you encounter an enemy with a breath weapon and it wipes your entire party, that was a difficulty plateau that was extremely unexpected. God, I'm trying to remember where it even was. I think it was in. It was in the second major dungeon set. You go from the sewers to the catacombs. I think it was on the second level of the catacombs. I run into a dragon that immediately wipes my whole party, and I don't know how you mitigate that, except to just run away from all the dragons you see until you get a lot more hit points, which I do now. Um, but it seems to all the excesses, because it starts off easy, and then the challenge becomes increasingly tedious. Dungeons that aren't. I mean, a lot of the dungeons are clever. I won't lie, but some of them are just tedious, and a lot of the enemies, aren't. It's effortless to get through them because they're not going to hit you, and it just takes time to wait for the spells to cast on everybody. Um, and all of that finally culminates into this 400 Berserker fight, which I feel like it should be exciting, but it's not. It is incredibly. It is the exact opposite of exciting. Um, I don't think anybody watching this is remotely excited. This is the definition of tedium, and just watching the text scroll. And I need to go back to Wizardry and check, because I could swear when you did some kind of group attack, it just summarized that you did this much damage to the group, killing X many. I don't think it went through each and every person in the group detailing what you did to them. So I'm going to have to double check that, because. But then again, a group of 400, if it were just 4 lines of text saying you killed 66 out of 99, you killed 58 out of 99, you killed 70 out of 99, also remarkably anticlimactic. Um, so yeah, I think this is just like I almost think of it as like a dead end of game design. Like when taken to its logical conclusion, I got a little tongue tied. It just fails, and it fails in every conceivable dimension. Um, I'm just gonna keep talking until this is over. I'm just gonna fill space. But anyways, I am coming up on the end of this. I'm choosing to run the Berserkers, hoping that it's a good grinding area, but I'm increasingly convinced this is a terrible idea. Um, there's a spot in the catacombs. Oh, I got through it. There's a spot in the catacombs which is a bit more of a hassle-free uh, spot to grind. I might try that instead, because this just takes forever. You do get a ton of experience, but it just takes so long. I think I get about 4 or 5 times the experience of the spot in the catacombs, but it takes at least 10 times longer. I mean, it's agonizingly slow. And plus, these guys can actually hit me, although I usually get a healing spell off somewhere in that huge scroll of text, which stops them from actually murdering anybody. Whereas going down to the catacombs, nobody can even touch me. I'm so outpaced for that area, and at least it's a little bit more engaging. Although the flip side is, I can just let these berserkers do whatever they're gonna do, and listen to a podcast or something for however long it takes. I've been listening to Joe Rogan talk to some guy about Bitcoin. I've learned a lot. Probably still not going to get into Bitcoin, but I've learned something. I need to find another podcast for whenever it's done. Oh, hello. Getting through another round. Let's just. One more Mind Blade should do it. Oh boy. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And the reward isn't even as good as I thought it would be. Oh, almost. I'm actually surprised that sometimes I'm not as lethal as I think I am. Alright, we are finally finished. By the way, that was with the scroll speed turned all the way up. It doesn't go any faster than that. And for all that, I got 60,000 experience, and a magic carpet, and a mithril helm. None of which I especially need. So, with that being the case, I think I've made my point. Later, everybody.